Hey, Ari here, leader of the race mixing revolution. I wanted to make this video to propose a very strange question, a very peculiar question. How many races are there? How many races are there right now? How many races do there need to be? And in a mixed race world, how many races will there be? Let's say that there is black and white people. To add another race into their group, you could mix them together. Then there would be three races. There would be black and white, and there would be mixed black and white. That becomes something of a third race. So then you have three races. Then let's say there are black, white, and Asian people in another example. That's three races, black, white, and Asian. And let's say all of them mix. There becomes black and white. In addition to black, white, and Asian, there's black, white mix, and there's white and Asian mix, and there's Asian and black mix. Three more races added on. So these three races become six races. How many races do we need, and how many mixed sub-races, if you can say that, do there need to be before we can say racism has ended? When can we raise a flag and say, hey guys, racism has ended? This is the end of racism. Is there ever going to be a point like that in the race mixing revolution where we can say we have ended racism? Whether in a small amount of people, a small group of people, or there have been some moments free of racism, or enough moments and enough people that are free of racism in our own communities, in our own way, that we can say we have proven that we can end racism. When is that point going to come from this race mixing revolution? It's a very important question. That's a very eye-opening question, to think about how many races there are, to think about it in finite pieces, and to actually set a goal for ourselves. It's a very important thing. It's still something I'm working on. I wish I could tell you right now, as of this video, what the goal was, to what degree we would have to mix, and how many of each subgroup of mixed races we would have to have before we can say, now we have ended racism. If I could calculate it for you down to a T, down to the last individual person in the entire world's population, if I could say this is what needs to happen, and then it would end racism because of these things, and I could prove that to you in a scientific way. But this is a very social problem, and this is a very realistic human-based problem that is kind of ambiguous and kind of abstract and kind of fleeting. And it depends on our emotions and instincts in a lot of ways. Unfortunately so. I wish I could say it was very scientific, and it is scientific in some ways, and I hope that I can give you some kind of an answer specifically in the future as to when racism will be definitively ended, a strong estimate or something like that. But until I have that, we need to prove it to ourselves on smaller levels. I have somehow proven it to myself, and I'm continuously proving it to myself on an individual level. I look for these moments of mixed race in my real world, in my personal life, and I try to find people that are free from racism, people who don't see race as much as possible, and that have the potential to mix race. I love these people. I have a lot of hope for these people, and I believe in these people that they will change the world. And I think that we all have this person inside of us. I really do. And I hope that once we have, let's say, 20 different races, 30 different races, and a consistent and large enough amount of each of those races, that we can start to see a lot of the effects in our personal lives. We'll start to see racism disappearing more and more. Just as a thought experiment, I wanted you to imagine this. I wanted you to imagine, I'm somebody in Canada, so it's easy for me to imagine this, and I hope that you live in some place in the world where you have enough of a point of reference that you can imagine this. But let's imagine that I'm going to go from my point of view. I'm a Canadian. How many races are in Canada or in my immediate vicinity? There are white people, there are brown people, there are Asian people, there are black people, there are Native people, there are some Latin people, and within those groups, there are many different people. Even within white people, there are foreign white people, there are non-foreign white people. There are Asian people that are from Korea, some that are from China, just as an example, to name a few. But I want you to imagine now something absurd. I want you to imagine a race that doesn't exist. It's kind of like trying to imagine a color that doesn't exist. It's very difficult to do. Trying to imagine a color that doesn't exist. What do you try to do? You try to mix colors. You try to think of maybe it's like red but a little more green. But whatever you try to do, you basically end up at another color that you already know. And humanity's races are a lot in the same way. It's hard to imagine another race. Maybe their eyes would be really wide open, and their noses would be completely pressed in like a snout, like Voldemort. I don't know if you know Voldemort. Just some very different, distinct facial features, and their skin tone would be maybe a little green or something. Who knows? And even then, that's not realistic. Why would it be green? There's nobody that's ever been green or will be green naturally. So just try to imagine that, and try to imagine them having their own race and them having their own culture and them being a part of the multicultural world of Canada or wherever else. How many additional of those new imaginary races and cultures would have to be added on to what we have now before racism would become different? Before we would have so many races that we wouldn't want to be racist anymore. Before it would be so much of a problem that we would have to mix race. Because I think that no matter what the alternative parallel universes that we can imagine would have us believe, they would all lead to the point where we would have to mix race. I really believe that. You know, in the same situation where I try to imagine how many alternate realities of the human world would lead to the wars that we have had, the major wars or the major scientific discoveries in another parallel world. How many years or in what ways would they have had to lead to physics, major physics discoveries and major chemistry and biology discoveries? Would they all have discovered those same things scientifically in one way or another? How would they find it out in different ways? Different major figures and major scientific researchers, their names would be different, but the knowledge would be the same. Maybe in the same way, race mixing would have to be a necessary thing to happen in all of these alternate realities. This is a strange thought experiment. This is something that I think everybody can relate to in one way or another, having tried to examine this thought experiment. And I hope you understand that in all the realities of humanity, they come to the point where they have become globalized in the way that we are now, and they have decided to race mix. I wish I could prove you to that. I wish I could take you to one of those alternate realities, to another universe where they've already done it, and we could see. And then we could come back to our own planet like, yeah, let's do it. I wish it was that simple. But this is what we have. This is the world that we have now. So just try to use your imagination. I hope you're following what I'm saying. Thanks for watching the video if you've watched it all the way through now. Please try to imagine the world and the other videos that I've said before in the kind of the same context of what I'm saying now. And let's try to create those sub-races, those mixed races, and give them the confidence they need to create a better world, and really give them the power and give them the opportunity to change the world for the better. And let's be a part of that too, as people who are not mixed race, like me. Let's do the best we can as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I got a lot more videos coming out in the future. Please share my video, copy the link, send it to some people, share it on social media. Please support me on Patreon. As little as $1 a month, you can help me in these very critical early phases of the revolution, help me build it from the ground up. Please remember my words and take them with you into the future. And thanks for watching again. I'll see you next time.